Hello out there, once again, America. Welcome back to the American Patriots channel. This is the third and final installment on race relations in America. Let's do a quick review on the behaviors that lead to poverty. In looking at the four main racial groups in America, what we saw is that groups B and C had a lower rate of college degree attainment than the others. Then when it came to employment rates, we saw that Group C had a lower employment rate than all the rest. As far as birth rates to unmarried women, Group B has a very high rate of 52.1%, and yet Group C has an even higher rate of 70%. The last thing we looked at was crime rates, and we saw that Group C had a higher crime rate in terms of violent crime and drug-related offenses than any of the other groups. So it is primarily due to poor personal choices, things such as education, employment, waiting to have children until you get married, and staying out of trouble with the law, that groups B and C are experiencing a lower median household income and a higher rate of poverty. Unfortunately, poor decisions cause collateral damage. It's one thing for a person to struggle because they have made poor decisions, but it's quite another to harm their own children's future. Children born to unwed mothers often live in poverty. What we have seen is that 6.3% of young children whose parents are married live in poverty. However, if their parents are not married, that percentage goes way up. If they live with their father, it's 18.4%. But if they live with their mother, it's 45.7%. Now, let's be honest, most children live with their mother, and so almost half of them live in poverty. They're most likely to be living in a low-income neighborhood where there are a lot of bad influences, such as crime, drugs, and gangs. At the same time, if they're living with their mother, they're missing out on the good influences that their father can bring. And unfortunately, it's likely that they don't go very far in school. This is a tragedy that can only be avoided if we, the adults, take responsibility and make good life decisions. Now, when it comes to race relations in America, misinformation can do a lot of harm. There are many out there that believe that systemic racism is the cause of economic inequality in America. And yet, we just reviewed the data, and it clearly showed that the primary cause of economic inequality is poor personal choices. This is just one example of a false narrative. There are many out there that incorrectly blame discrimination on racial misfortunes. Reaction to false discrimination claims can lead to further problems. False discrimination narratives can lead unnecessarily to civil unrest, including demonstrations, looting, and rioting. It can also lead to reverse discrimination, where hiring and promoting can be based on race instead of on the person who has the most qualifications. Since when is discrimination against one person solved by discriminating against another? If you watch television commercials, you will see disproportionate racial representation and some examples of the reverse discrimination that's going on in our country right now. And then there are quotas. Wells Fargo, Ralph Lauren, Delta Airlines, and Estee Lauder are just some examples of companies that are using quotas to hire and promote. Even to win an Oscar for Best Picture, a company that makes that movie needs to meet certain quota requirements. So let me ask you a question. If you were the most qualified candidate for a job, but you were passed over for someone who had less qualifications, how would that make you feel? Discrimination is not solved with more discrimination. And then there are those out there who are calling for equity. Now, equity sounds like a good thing. It sounds a lot like equality, but there's a big difference. Equity is taking from someone who has sacrificed and made the good decisions and giving to someone who has not. On the other hand, there is equality. Equality is the right of different groups of people to be treated equally, to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. So let's promote equality and not equity, which leads to resentment, anger, and further division. Now, when it comes to discrimination, fortunately, discrimination occurs on a small scale. However, I have discovered a widespread systemic form of discrimination that's occurring right now, and you'd be surprised as to where it's coming from. It's coming from our own government, and it's in the form of our welfare system. Our welfare system is taking advantage of the disadvantaged. It's taking advantage of the poor. It's perpetuating the cycle of poverty that continues on and on for generation after generation. It disincentivizes employment. If a person is on welfare and they get a job, they could lose some or all of their benefits. And it also disincentivizes education. Why would a person want to further their education when they've already got a steady stream of income in place coming from the welfare system? But worse yet, it penalizes marriage. If a person gets married, there again, they can lose some or all of their benefits. So in effect, it encourages single parenting. And we've already seen what happens there. Single parenting results in a much higher likelihood of being and staying in poverty. So what we need to do is to improve our welfare system, to keep all the benefits in place as they are, but to add further incentives for good behavior, incentives to get a job, incentives to further your education, and incentives to stay married. Now, if you want to learn more, watch my video on social welfare in America. Well, as I've said, this is the third and final installment on race relations in America. So let's summarize what we've seen. In order to improve race relations in America, we addressed four main topics. We said that we need to reduce prejudice because prejudice is at the heart of discrimination. We need to form opinions of others based on their personal merit and character, not on their outer appearance or the group that they belong to, such as their race, religion, gender, national origin, and so forth. Secondly, we need to avoid misinformation. We need to understand that inequality is primarily due to personal choices and not due to discrimination. Thirdly, we need to practice those good behaviors that lead to a secure financial future. To stay in school and get a good education, to go out and find and keep a good job, to avoid having children until you are married, and to avoid trouble with the law. And then finally, we need to fight discrimination in all of its forms, including reverse discrimination, calls for equity as opposed to equality, which we fully support, and a welfare system that entraps the poor. Here on the American Patriots channel, we say that there's only one race that matters, and that race is the human race. Well, that's all I have on race relations in America. Next time, we're going to discuss a very challenging topic, and that topic is abortion. Now, you might say, wow, there's so many diverse opinions on abortion. What can we say about the topic? Is it good or is it bad? Is it right or is it wrong? Should it be legal or should it be illegal? Well, we're going to address all those questions right here next time on the American Patriots channel. I really appreciate you tuning in today and hope to see you again next time where we discuss abortion. See you then.